If we can live together with our partner, have a child, and raise a family, what's the point of marriage? People are mentioning legal things, but there's a big cultural and social aspect of legitimizing your relationship as well. But if that's not an important aspect to you, then don't get married. All of the other legal protections that come with it. Legalities, especially in finances, loans and insurances, and many more. I never believed in marriage when I was younger, but then I met my wife. For me, marriage was a public affirmation that this is the person I love most in the world and wish to commit to spending my life with, and the wedding was a chance to celebrate that love with my friends and family. It is a choice two people make together to show the value they place on each other and the effort they are willing to put into their relationship. It was also a moment for my wife to be officially welcomed into my family and me into hers. The legal aspects of it are useful but pretty minor if you are on top of things. Marriage is not really about that except in specific circumstances, like visa requirements or adopting children or something. Have you never seen any of the F56? Just found out my boyfriend F57 of 25 years has been cheating on me. We have 2 grown children. I haven't worked since the 90s. Everything is in his name. How screwed am I? Posts. I have a friend who was in this situation, but married. If she wasn't married, she would be in a much worse situation. Some people think it is very romantic, and that celebrating your love and the commitment of your vows to each other with family and friends is an exciting and fun thing to do. Safety. If you have kids together and are married, you know what will happen when you die. If you are not well, you better pray that your parents don't file for custody. Happened to my best friend. He lost custody of his 2 boys less than a year after he lost his girlfriend. It depends where you live. Where I live, there are only a few legal differences, but they can be significant. In most way, you are legally recognized as the same as a spouse, except that you may have to prove it. A married couple can easily prove that with a marriage certificate. A de facto couple may have a few extra steps in proving it. Legal things. In some countries, you can get tax benefits from marriage vs living together. If one of you dies, inheritance is a lot more straightforward with legal documentation. Depends on the country you live in. In the US, there is a big difference between married and not. In other countries, not so much. I'm in Canada, and as common law, I have the same benefits as married, and since I'm not religious, the difference is no legally binding paper, and that's it. Marriage means nothing to me. It's a word that some people use to define their relationship. Tax breaks. In countries like Australia, where you are a de facto common law husband and wife, after 6 months of living together, there is 0 point. The family court regards your relationship in the exact same way as if you were married, and separating still entitles each other to an equity in the wealth obtained between you both at that time. Housing, savings, superannuation, etc. My good friend has been living with the same girl for 15 years and they have 2 kids and aren't married. I don't know. Cultural aspect in many ways, I guess. There's the logistical legal side, sure, but then there is something intangible that, at least for me, happened when I met my husband. I just wanted to do the public declaration and the formal welcome into each other's families. It just felt right. And things felt different after we got married. To me, it might feel similar to me as if you were running a business with someone, but neither of you had ownership. The marriage means you both have ownership. There's an ease and sense of comfort that you are both invested in this thing together in a very real way emotionally and financially. It's legal and religious stuff. It's legal, aka we both agree that this was on purpose and it's our kid. This same principle is the premise of the Adam Sandler Kevin James flick We Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, where 2 men get married for the benefits. There's still value to the institution as it requires commitment and repercussions to the joining of 2 people together. That said, if my wife rented a room and was a single mother, she could get way more via benefits than the deduction I get for having kids. Religious is much older than I am, almost 40, and often familial, and I've already rented enough. Legal crap, basically. Without marriage, a couple is just as close as 2 people on the other ends of the country in the eyes of the law. If you get married, some things get a whole hell a lot more easier. In the US, all the legal things that people probably aren't setting up with an attorney if they don't marry. A fake. You can't get many of the government benefits like survivor's benefits if you aren't married. I'm my husband's next of kin. His family can get bent. I'm entitled to all of our marital property if he dies or is incapacitated, even if I have to go to probate. I actually knew a couple where dad died suddenly on a hunting trip at a fairly young age. Thankfully, the son was 18. He inherited the house and gave it back to his mom. They never married. Honestly, I generally assume people asking these questions are young and haven't been in those oh shit situations yet. Legal shit. hospital-wise, you might not even be allowed in to see them. To me, getting married was a way of making our commitment to each other clear. I've lived with other people, but my wife is the person I intend to spend my life with. Clearly, many can and do decide to make that commitment without the ceremony, and I can't imagine being ready to have kids with someone, but balk at the commitment or marriage. But it's more than cohabitation. It depends on your culture too. Where I grew up in Asia, no one cared if your parents were divorced. But if your mom was never married and the class found out, you were basically shunned. Also, and I have vague memory of this since I was like 5, so I could be wrong, but I don't think you could go to school unless a male relative claimed you as a dependent. I don't think it matters who the relative was, grandfather, uncle, etc., but you had to prove someone was paying taxes for you to register for school.